Okay guys, a couple of weeks ago I gave you guys a file with the reindeer names for ornaments, and for those of you new working with vinyl, I wanted to cover working with it. So the first thing I do is I have a jar. You can use several things, anything that will hold your ornament so that it's not rolling around while you're trying to work on it. Will work. You can use an empty ribbon spool, the core of it. You could use just the lid of a jar. Something just to hold it in place. The next thing that I like to do is to look at my ornament. And on this one it just tells me that my ornament is, I got these at Hobby Lobby. It's a 3 by 3.5, meaning it's 3 inches wide. But with the height, with the ring and everything, it's 3.5. So with that being said, I like to look at my ornament. What can I see without having to turn it? And that's how I kind of decide what size to make my design. So I'm looking for my tape measure. It seems to have gotten away from me. There it is. So I like to take my tape measure and look at it and lay it on there just so I can get a visual. So even though it's 3 inches wide, that's a good size. You could go that way. But I'm looking at it, 2.5 would be a better size. Okay, 2.5 inches. So that's what I've set my width for on my vinyl. And the file you will find on the freebies tab at craftingwithapril.co. There's 2 different designs. Pick the one that you want and go with it. I'm going to go with the skinny font because I'm going to do mine a little bit rustic. I'm going to put a bow on there that's done in like a ribbon like this. Just a ribbon. And then I'm also going to probably be putting a poinsettia on it. And I am going to change out those red ties probably for a twine tie. I don't know, I may go with a little bit heavier gauge than this on my twine. I haven't decided yet. So the first thing you want to do is cut your vinyl, and we're going to show how to do that. And before you apply anything, we're going to clean these with alcohol so that they will stick better. So I have my mat right here. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit more area. I'm going to move this so that you can see. And I have my mat, and I am doing all of the reindeer names in black, except Rudolph. I'm going to do him in red. And we're just going to take our vinyl. This is the removable. I use removable a lot. It's not going to be handled. It's going to be on the tree. It doesn't need to be permanent. I wanted a matte for this, but you can get it in permanent as well in matte. I just happened to grab this one. So I'm going to use this. I have no problem with it sticking. So I've got that on my mat, and then I'm going to be cutting some StarCraft in the red gloss for Rudolph's name. And we're just going to take that and send our design over to the mat. We're going to cut it, and I'm going to come back and show you guys how to weed it and how to transfer it. Okay, now that we have it cut, we're going to remove it from the mat. And then I am just going to trim mine up with my Cricut trimmer. You don't have to do this. I just kind of, I've got some sticky on it from my new mat. I'm just going to bring this over and just trim that off so that I can save that other piece of vinyl for later. And we can go ahead and trim that off too. So now we have our names, and now we're going to weed those. I am going to cut my Rudolph name, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we have our names, and now we need to weed our vinyl. Now you could weed this all in one piece. However, when you're doing letters, especially smaller, if it's going on separate pieces like mine, you may want to cut those down. It's going to make weeding easier and simpler, and it's going to make application a lot easier. So I'm just going to cut these apart. I'm not going to make you guys watch me weed every single one of these. I'm just going to weed one for you, and then we'll come back and transfer. Just gonna cut these last few apart. Okay, so there we go. So everything is cut apart. And now I'm going to get my weeding tool. Some people like dental picks. Some people like the Cricut weeding tools. Doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with, that's what you should use. So we're just going to start with that corner. I'm just going to peel that back, and I'm just going to kind of wiggle it, especially when we get into those E's and between those M's and your C's, things like that. And you're just going to peel that back piece off. And then, of course, you're going to take any of your centers out of your letters. I really should have a brighter light, but then it'll wash out for you guys. So we're going to take that out, and now that is ready to transfer. So I'm going to go and do the exact same thing to all of the rest of mine, then we'll come back and put them on. Okay, so here we are with our last one. Just going to get that one started. Just going to rock it as we pull that off gently. Just take your time. And I did use the premium outdoor vinyl setting on my maker to cut this, both of them. Even though one was removable, I used that same setting for both. But I did use my deep cut blade, and I'll just tell you why. It's not going to cut any deeper unless you tell it to, but it will pivot a little bit better with these smaller letters. It does, the blades have a different angle on them. This has a 45-degree angle where this one has a 60-degree angle, and it just pivots a little bit easier on these tiny ones. So when I'm doing some intricate work like this, sometimes I opt, even with paper, for my deep cut blade rather than my regular blade. And again, unless you're cutting on a thicker material, it's not going to cut any deeper. Now I'm using something called R-tape here, which is used a lot in the wet method application of vinyl, and you can find that on my YouTube channel. I have a wet method application video, and I'm just going to burnish that. I'm going to flip it over. I'm just going to burnish it again, and I'm just going to let that sit. And I'm going to bring in my ornament that I'm going to put this on. You want to try to get them in the same place each time. That's important. But if it's off a little bit, nobody's going to notice. And I just have alcohol in my little bottle here. And I'm just going to clean off the area where I'm going to apply it. Now it's important, even though I'm cleaning that with alcohol, you want to make sure that it's dry as well, unless you plan on doing the wet method, so that it will stick. Now when you're doing vinyl, you don't want to lift it this way and pull your tape off. It's probably going to work with these small letters, but you want to work with taking your paper off of the back this way. It does matter a lot of times if you're fighting vinyl and you're having trouble. Generally, that will be the reason why. And I'm using this tape because it's easier on something like this. And hopefully I'm going to get this straight. I'm just going to plop it down. And then I'm going to give everything a rub. I don't care if the tape itself gets a little wrinkle in it, as long as my letters don't. You can stop that when you're working with round ornaments by clipping, like you would if you were sewing. Clipping your transfer tape. And when you're doing round objects like this, if you're doing a massive instead of like lettering, if a solid emblem, like say a round circle, you want to go smaller because it's never going to lay flat if you don't. And then you want to peel your transfer tape just like and I did get a wrinkle in that, I'll fix that. I'm just going to pull that back. In case you get a wrinkle, I'm just going to show you how you can smooth that out. I'm just going to take my pick and I'm just going to lift it up. gently. So it isn't set yet. I'm just going to get it where I can get a hold of it and pull it up. And then I'm just going to smooth it down. All fixed. Okay. So all I did was just lift it up and pull it out. And it's ready to go. I'll do another just so you guys can see me do it. I'm going to cut off these, my scissors. Those are my dull scissors. And I'm going to place it on there. A little alcohol. We're going to dry it off. And let's get another name. A little rub. That one was the Rudolph was the Starcraft, and this is the Cricut. I'm just going to peel the backing off. Line that up. I'm going to start in the center. Start working it down. If you're afraid it's going to wrinkle on you, cut that transfer tape. Don't cut your vinyl, just so that you can get it to lay down. And then we're just going to peel it back. And then you're just going to go in and make sure each letter is rubbed down. Got a little wrinkle there. Round objects, that's going to happen. Don't panic. If you can catch it before you rub it down, you're a lot easier. In worst case scenario, you got to cut one letter. Worst case. I was able to smooth that one out. So nice and easy, and we'll come back and we'll add bows. Just going to add all the rest of my names and then we'll complete the project. Okay guys, after a couple of times of checking out what I thought I might want, this is what I've decided upon, and I am going to show you how I made this bow and my hanger. And I'm just taking a 10-inch piece of twine, and I am just going to run one end through the loop. Then I'm going to bring it up, and then I'm just going to tie a knot right in the top of it, just like that. And then if you want, you can trim off any excess. Okay, so now I have my hanger, and then I have my rustic bows, which needs a little play, but we'll get there. Okay, so let me show you how I did mine. You can do yours any way you want. Now I used my bow dabber. I have a mini bow dabber that I used, but you can also use a bow template, and I'll show you both ways of using that. So first I'm going to start with my, just going to get a piece of, this is like a wired stuff. You can buy this at Walmart and stuff, and it's made for the bow dabber, but you can buy it if you don't have the little tool itself and use that. Now I'm using a ribbon that's only patterned on one side, so I'm going to start with my tail over here, and it's about 1.5 inches past my bow dabber. Okay, that's important. And when it comes in here, I'm going to twist it here at the center. I've laid my wire vertically, and I'm doing my bow horizontally. And then I'm going to flip it and get a loop on this side. And I'm going to twist it again there at the center. And it's important that you keep your loops the same size. I'm just going to go just about the width of my Bodabra, okay? And then I'm going to come back over to this side and I'm going to loop it again and twist it as it goes down in, okay? And I'm doing 2 loops on each side, so I need to go back this way. I'm going to twist it so that it's the right side when it comes back on this side. When I loop it, the pretty side's up. And I've got 2 loops here. I've got, that makes my second there, so this one is just going to be the tail. So I'm just going to leave it straight. I'm not going to twist it here. And then I'm going to come about 1.5 inches out. Long scissors. Those are not my fabric scissors. And don't worry if you get it a little long. Okay guys, I'm sorry my video cut off for some reason. All I did, and you saw that I had my wire laid in here and I did my bow back and forth. The only thing you missed is I cut this off at the end and then I just tied it in a knot and pulled it out and placed it onto the ornament. Now there is a way that you can do the same thing without a Bodabra. You can take your ribbon, we're going to make a tail. All you need is a 3-inch, this is a piece of cereal box, actually probably 2 pieces glued together. And cut it in a 3-inch square and cut a slit in the middle. That's it. You can do this in any size. You can, I think this is some cereal box chipboard something. This might be a scrap of chipboard that I used. But whatever size the width is, that's going to be the size of your bow. So if it's 3-inch, you're going to have a 3-inch bow, and that's what I'm doing here. So I just got my tail, and we're doing almost the exact same thing that we did with the Bodabra, okay? First of all, you're going to have your piece of wire, okay? And we had that laid this way in the Bodabra. Then we did our bow. What we're going to do here is just going to overhang the tail just a little bit, and that's going to be the tail. And then we're going to bring this around. This is loop 1 on this side. Now we have a tail and a loop on this side. I'm going to keep bringing it around. And now we have a tail, a loop, and a loop. So I have 2 loops here. Over here I have 1 loop, and then the tail. Okay? So that's all I did. Just wrap it, make sure that it's even. Then you're going to take your piece of wire. And this is where we laid it vertically into the Bodabra. It was a little easier because it was hands-free. Basically, it's the same thing, okay? If you want to do a little tape to hold it, whatever you want, I just hold it with my fingers like that, tighten it up, and then I'm just going to tie a knot with the wire. Just tie it in a knot. And tie it here. Again, you can use twine if you don't have this wired stuff here from the Bodabra. If you don't have that, use twine. Use a piece of the scrap of the ribbon. You can use anything to tie that off with. Okay? You're just going to tie it and then you're just going to slip it right off the end. Okay? And that's why you have the slit in there so you can work with it and play with it. And I'm just going to trim up the tails on this so that they're about even. Okay, and then we're going to take, and I'm using the glue dots is what I'm using to put mine on. You can use hot glue, whatever that you're comfortable with, E6000. I'm just going to use glue dots. These are super sticky. I'm just going to stick one. You can stick it on the ornament itself, or you can stick it on the back of your ribbon. And then I'm just going to stick that on. Then I'm going to grab one of my flowers. I'm going to grab another glue dot. Place it right on the back. And we're going to place that right there. And I don't know where my video cut off, so I'm just going to do another one of these. I cut a loop at about 10 inches. We're just going to run it right through, bring them up even, tie it off in a knot at the top. and then trim that off if you like. And you're done. Okay, super quick, easy, and simple bows that look great. These are meant to be rustic. That's the way that I want them. I'm going to finish them up. As a matter of fact, I'm even out of this ribbon, so I'm going to have to run to the store tomorrow and grab another spool of this ribbon so that I can make them all match. But I will take photos and show them to you guys. If you need any help, please let me know. Give a thumbs up and a like on the video. Leave a comment down below. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'll catch you on the next video. You have a great night.